Hey guys, it's Nico from Ocean First Institute. I'm going to explain the process of formalin dipping our mats. So this is the mats that we put into the tanks with our red-bellied dace. They really like to breed and lay their eggs on these guys. So periodically we'll check for eggs and remove them from the tank. And that's really important that we dip these guys in formalin because fungus tends to grow on the fish eggs. By dipping it in formalin, we're stopping the fungal growth and preventing that from overrunning the eggs. Right. So now that you've seen one of these, I'll walk you through the process of the formalin dip. If you guys are wondering where the formalin lives, you'll find it right over here in this bucket in the corner. So the first step is we get our container and we want 3 liters of water. Our water here, before we do this dip, I need to add dechlor to our water. The ratio for this is 5 milliliters per 10 gallons. I've got about a gallon here, so I'm going to do half a milliliter. So I'll add a little bit here. And then pipette out half a mil. There are markings on the side of this, so you can use that to reach your desired level. That's half a mil there. Then add that in here. And then I'll just mix that around. Great. Now the next step is I will pour this into our dipping container. Now, the fun part, adding the formalin to this. Now, formalin's a pretty nasty chemical, so just make sure you guys have your gloves on. Either the single use or these gloves will be in this bucket. Open this up. Now we have formalin in there, but also in here. It might be easier to remove from this container. You're going to take your formalin pipette, and you'll know it's that one because it has a Sharpie mark at the line you need to fill to, which is 3 milliliters. And again, if you forget, this is 1 milliliter of formalin to 1 liter of water. It's 3 mil. And voila.
Okay.
So I am removing our mat here. If we're lucky, these fish will have laid a bunch of eggs on it, which you will look for. They look like small little globes. And we're going to say that there's eggs on this mat and replicate the dipping process. Now I'm shaking it to get as much water off as possible. And I have a towel down here as well. Then I'm going to take this over and gently, without touching the formalin solution, let that sit. And I do it that way because I don't like to have my gloves on when I'm reaching into the tank. So yeah, again, just be careful with the formalin solution. And then we're going to set a timer for 15 minutes for this. Then we will remove and put back into our special tank. So before I add our mat back into our little 10-gallon tank here, I'm going to set some PVC so that it has something to sit on. Put a little space between the bottom of the tank and the mat, and that will give the fish a place to kind of fall out of when they hatch. So these mats came from a chilled tank. They've now acclimated to this water temperature. So I will replace this mat into our tank. Again, I'm shaking off as much of this as I can. Quickly set this down here. Now we will repeat this process twice a day for these mats, and then eventually after 3-4 days, at some point when you're shaking that mat out, you're going to see little fish on the bottom, and then we will stop the formalin treatment. You will not repeat that, and replace the mat into the tank, where after a few days you'll see even more fish settle onto the bottom, and that's where they're going to do most of their development, until eventually they swim around and we start the process of feeding. All right, so now that we're done with our formalin, we are going to dump it down the sink. Gloves on, and maybe just run some water to make sure that's extra diluted, and start the cleaning process.